Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Again, this is the Powell Not Found podcast, episode 26, and where you just finished talking about the Yankees' July woes, the All-Star Game uniforms, how bad they are, and now we're going to be talking a little bit about Despicable Me 4. I went to go see that show, the movie in the theater. There, slowly but surely, I feel like the movie lineup has become a little bit better as of late. There's a lot more things to see. Quiet Place Day 1, I still kind of want to go see a screening of that and talk about it on the show. But we've kind of hit this role, weirdly enough, about talking about children's movies, including If, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Inside Out apparently was pretty good. And now Despicable Me 4. Now, Despicable Me 4, an interesting movie to see, especially considering the fact that I had not tuned into a Despicable Me or Minions flick for years. I think the first one came out in 2010, so 14 years later, a lot has happened, apparently. Luckily, you can kind of enjoy this movie. They've set it up in a way where if you haven't seen any of the other ones, you can still enjoy this show. You can still pick up where you left off. It's not really that complicated of a plot. This isn't season 5 of Game of Thrones. What's happening? What's going on? This is a children's show through and through that anybody can enjoy. I think there are references in this movie that if you had seen the previous ones and you've kept up with the Despicable Me lore that you probably know about, but it actually is a pretty funny comedy. It kind of does fall flat, at least in my opinion. I really remember, and this might be me kind of having revisionist history about the first Despicable Me, but I thought the concept was so clever, and it was one of those animated features that really stuck in my head years on, where I still had good memories looking back on it, saying, oh, I love the performance by Steve Carell. I like the character. I like the conceit. I love the fact that he's a villain. He's the best villain, and he's after this thing, and he gets kind of turned. His heart gets turned by those 3 girls that he ends up taking care of in the movie. I haven't seen any of the other ones, so I can't reflect on that one. But I knew that the first one was good enough to leave a really good impression on me going forward, and so. As this is the 6th entry in the Despicable Me franchise, including the 2 Minions prequels. There was Minions, and then The Rise of Gru. I can't speak to how good they were, but for a 6th entry in a film franchise, there were 2 things that stood out to me. One, a 6th one of anything is going to feel stale in some regards, right? There isn't... I feel like sometimes stories run their course a little bit. It's not easy to keep reinventing the wheel over and over and over again. And they do a pretty good job having a new antagonist, having these people evolve, having their families evolve. The dynamic between the baby and Gru is pretty funny. And the slapstick humor that comes from the Minions is okay. It's pretty good. It keeps you entertained, especially watching this film that runs at about 94 minutes. So you're in and out pretty quickly. 2, when it's the 6th one in the franchise, you almost feel like the movie's trying to signal to you that this is it. It's over. We've run its course. And 2 big factors may factor in when making this decision. One, I don't think the movie's getting reviewed that well, and I think the reviews are kind of fair, right? If it got a middling review from IGN, I don't think the Metacritic is that great on it. It's one of those things where it just feels like it's not. It feels like it's a run-of-the-mill, like should have been a TV episode or something like that. It's nothing really kind of like sticks out of like, that was hilarious, this was really funny. It just seems like they're kind of running this into the ground a little bit. And also, when the reviews kind of reflect the same kind of feelings, going, this is kind of overplayed, overdone, this is kind of, this franchise is over, I think you have to kind of take that into consideration. The other thing is, if this thing makes millions and millions and millions at the box office, you better believe there's going to be a Despicable Me 5, right? I mean, there's going to be, they're not going to sit there and smile politely at a whole bunch of money coming into the box office. So regardless of whatever the critics think, if this thing makes billions, right, millions and millions and millions of dollars, they're going to make a sequel, regardless of how bad it is, until they run it completely in the ground, or unless they don't have engagement from the people that make it work. And in this case, if they don't have Steve Carell, if they don't have Will Ferrell, if they don't have Kristen Wiig, if they don't have names attached to it, they might just walk away from it. But man, there were a lot of people in my theater, so who am I to say that it was bad? But I don't think that the plot itself was very memorable. A day after seeing it, I can't really remember what happened. I mean, it's not like if I walked away from going, that probably wasn't a kid's movie per se, but it was a movie that had a good message and a good story, and it felt complete, and it really affected me. And Despicable Me, the first one, did that to me, where I can remember the kind of the rough beats of the movie. This one did not have that kind of same thing. It felt like this was another episode in a long-running series, and it's not going to really stick with me that much after the screening. But let me know what you guys thought of the movie. I didn't think it was that memorable. I didn't think it was that great, but you might have a totally different opinion. So let me know what you guys thought of the movie.